What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, today I want to talk about my new EP that just came out. It came out last week on March 14th, and it's called Shogun, and it's on all streaming services, and iTunes, and anywhere you buy music, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you haven't listened to it yet, I would really appreciate it if you check it out. It's just my name, Devin Isami Williams. And like I said, the EP is called Shogun. It's got 6 songs on it. And if you have listened to it, thank you. It means the world. And what I wanted to do today was just kind of go over some of the instruments I used on the EP, kind of like how I recorded it, some of the software, just, kind of nerd out a little bit about how I produced it and what I did. So, I guess we will start with the guitars I use, since this is a guitar channel primarily, right? I used my Les Pauls, and it's kind of hard to really remember everything, because like I said, I kind of recorded this EP on and off over, say, like the past year. So, it kind of just depended at the time, like what guitar was in what tuning, if it had new strings on it, so I kind of bounced around a little bit. But for most of the songs, let me grab it real quick. For most of the songs, I used this guy, my 2001 Les Paul Deluxe that's been modified, that has the Fastback Custom pickups in it. And this guitar is always kind of my default studio rhythm guitar. It just sounds the best for tracking rhythms. Like every time I shoot guitars out, this one wins 95% of the time. So I'm pretty sure I did 5 out of the 6 songs rhythm guitars on this guitar. The only song I know for certain that I didn't do the rhythm guitars with this guitar on was the song Wounds of Grace. And on that song I used this guitar, the 2023 Murphy Lab Silverburst Custom with the Seymour Duncan Antiquity JB in it, in the bridge, and it's got a Gibson custom bucker in the neck. And I used the custom bucker for all the clean sections of that song because it had such a nice clean sound, and then did all the rhythms on the JB. And again, like I said, it just happened to be set up in drop C at the time, and it was new, and I think I might have wrote Wounds of Grace on this guitar. I don't know. I think I did. I think I wrote it on this guitar. That's why I just wound up using it to record with. And then I know on that song I also used this on the little lead kind of overlay part that's at the breakdown at the end. So I use this guitar for every track on that song. But then for the other lead parts and stuff like that, I wound up using my 1987 Les Paul Custom, again with the Fastback Custom pickups in it. And I like using this one for leads a lot. Just even though they got the same pickups in them, they do sound a little different. This guitar is a little more comfortable to play leads on. It just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the ebony fretboard. I just like playing leads on this guitar. The action is a little lower on this guitar, and it's just a little easier to play real fast stuff and solos and stuff like that. So that's why I usually go for this guy when I'm doing leads. Basses was kind of a weird thing. For basses, it kind of really just depended on what I had in the studio at the time. You know how it is. I go through gear a lot. I've tried out a bunch of different basses, and I know that on the track Kagura, I used a Tagima PJ bass. And then on, I think, the rest of the songs, except Wounds of Grace, I used a Fender Player Series P-bass with the Fender high mass bridge on it. Because I had that bass for a while. I was playing bass in a group, and I was using that bass primarily as my live bass. So I had that for a while. But then on Wounds of Grace, I wound up using this guy, my PVT-20 bass. really like the way this bass sounds. My only issue with it is the pickup is an actual true single coil pickup. You know, like a P bass, it only has like the one pickup, but it's technically a humbucker because it's two single coil pickups wired together, and so it's pretty quiet. And the Tagima bass I had was a PJ combo, so it had the J single coil, but it had the P pickup too, and it's really quiet. And this bass is just kind of noisy, and I had to fight it a lot when I recorded Wounds of Grace. It just happened to be the only bass I had at the time in the studio to do that song with. And again, I like the tone of it, but the pickup just makes a lot of noise. So I'm probably going to either look for another like full-time bass guitar to have in the studio that has like a humbucker in it or like a P-style pickup in it, or I'm going to mod this one. I haven't really decided yet what, but like I said, it gets the job done. I just kind of have to, you know, go back in post-production and like make sure none of that noise is coming through, really gate it, and try to quiet it down a little bit. So that was my only issue with this bass and recording with it, was that single coil pickup. So yeah, all the songs are in drop C. So I had the guitar strung up with D'Addario NYXLs, the 11 to 56 gauge, which is typically what I use for drop C. The bass, it just has like regular Ernie Ball. I'm not sure what the gauges are. It's the green pack, you know. It's like a 45 to a 105 or something like that. Yeah, that was all the guitars and the basses I used on the EP. And I've got one of the sessions pulled up here so we can kind of look at some plugins. Sorry, I don't have like a better like split view of it or something like that. I just didn't feel like trying to rig all that up and get it to work right. So I'm just going to show you these plugins the best I can. So for the guitars, I used this. This is the ML Sound Labs GNR plugin. So this is what I used for all of the rhythm guitars. It's the Silver Jubilee head with it's got some custom cab IRs that I like to use. The Gates of Hell and the BD HV Creamback. Both of these are from Bogren Digital. So I use these two cab IRs with the Silver Jubilee. And in front of it, I have Classic Reaper Not Responding. Gotta love that. Of course, when I'm making a video, is like when Reaper will decide that it needs to reboot and freeze up. But yeah, I used the Dead Horse Overdrive plugin. I really like that overdrive pedal. I used to have one, like a physical one, and they're awesome. And it just really tightened up the guitars and stuff. I felt like really cool plugin. Wavemind is the name of the company that makes this. So yeah, this is, come on, window, get out of the way. There we go. So yeah, that is the Dead Horse Overdrive plugin. And I made my own preset. Same with like the GNR, ML Sound Labs GNR plugin. I made my own preset and saved it with my own kind of amp settings and stuff like that. Yeah. And that plugin, I also use the noise gate that's on that plugin, the Wavemind Dead Horse Overdrive. It has its own noise gate built into the plugin, which I really dig. So, you know, I like left-right tracked the rhythm guitars. On the lead guitar parts, I used the Trivium Lead amp knob plugin. Right here. I love this plugin for leads. It has like this kind of slight doubling chorus effect thing kind of built into it. And it has a delay built into it too. And I just really like it for leads. It sounded great. The cab, I'm using like the stock cab IR that came with this plugin. Again, it sounded great just like it was. No reason to kind of mess with it. As you can see, I put a little Slate virtual mix rack on it. You know, nothing crazy, just like an EQ and a mic pre, basically, to kind of add some color to it and EQ it a little bit. And then I have a graphic EQ kind of boosting a little 2K there, just to kind of push it through a little bit. And again, this is just the song Shogun. You know, it's a little different for every song, just depending on how it's sitting in the mix. But this was kind of like a general template for how I did the guitars. Let's see. Let's check out the bass. So on the bass, I used the bass knob by Trivium. Really good plug-in. Dig it too. Again, just a really nice sound. And I will say, I don't think I used this plug-in on every song. I might have used. We'll go look at another track here in a second. Depending on the bass, so whether it was like the P bass or the Tagima or the T20, said I'm not 100% certain what tracks I used what basses on because of how I recorded everything kind of over like a year time span. But I'm pretty sure I used the Neural DSP Dark Glass bass plugin on a couple of things too, like just, you know, for whatever reason, like I wanted more distortion or just the bass sounded different and I was trying to get them to sound closer to each other, and you know, different bass, different pickups. Between the two plugins, I was able to kind of get everything to sound somewhat cohesive, right? Not wildly different from each other. So this just happens to be the plugin I used on this song. So we'll go check out another track. But again, little EQ, you know, dipping out around like 500, 550, just a little bit, pulling a little bit of that mid-range out. Pretty much it for the bass. Drums. So I programmed all the drums, and I used the Will Putney drum library for Easy Drummer 2, and I kind of made my own preset. I kind of like mixed and matched some of the kits that are in here. Let's see what we got going on here. On the snare drum, I wound up using the Tama Bell Brass snare drum, which I really like the way that sounds. On the kick drum, I wound up using the Drumcraft Series 8, the 20x22. So my band that I'm in, Witch Hunter, is something that me and our drummer Brad have debated ad nauseum, right? Like his kick drums, he's got a couple different kick drums, and me and him both have kind of really leaned into like 20-inch deep kick drums. So he's got a 20x20 and a 22x20, and regardless of like the, you know, size, like whether it's like a 20 or 22 in diameter, we really like the 20-inch deep kick drums. They're deeper, they sound deeper, they have more punch to them, and even though this is a plug-in, these drum tones are captured very well, and I could tell the difference, like going back and forth between like a 22x18 versus a 22x20. Like I can hear it's got more depth to it, and so I really dig that with the deeper kick drums. And then I think the rest of the kit for all the toms, I pretty much, well, I take that back. Let's see, for the 1/4 tom, well, it looks like I really mixed and matched. I thought I had kind of stuck with the Tama Star Classic kit. That's what I thought, but I was wrong. The toms are, the rack toms are a Yamaha Recording Custom 900 kit, 9x10, a 10x12, and then this floor tom is the Tama Star Classic 16x16, and then the big floor tom is a 16x18 Pearl Session Custom. So same diameter, but a deeper tom. And I guess I just liked that better than the, you know, I don't know. I get it just provided a kind of a different tone than the Tama Star Classic one did. Cymbals, there's a whole bunch of cymbals in here, Zildjians and Sabians, and you know, I kind of mixed and matched. The cool thing I do like about this plug-in is that it has a stack cymbal, and that's something that I'm really accustomed to having in songs that I write with my band. So my drummer Brad, he uses a stack cymbal, and so I guess this one's kind of worth noting. It's the 1618 Zildjian K Custom Dark Crash. Let's see if it'll say what all is made with it. You know how a stack cymbal is like one, you take a smaller cymbal and you put it inside a bigger cymbal, and it gives you a really neat sound. It's very percussive. It cuts a lot. And so that's something I'm really accustomed to and the kind of music that I write. So I like that this plugin had one of those in it, and it sounded really good. The other noteworthy drum plugin is the Black Salt Audio Drum Bus. I found this plugin and absolutely loved it. And it's got two different kind of settings, standard and slammed. I know there were a couple of songs where I wanted a super aggressive drum sound. Like I think at the end of Wounds of Grace, I switched it over to the slammed. So like the regular song is the standard mode, and then like at the end when it gets crazy, like heavy, it goes to the slammed mode. And you've got all kinds of stuff in here, you know, compression, attack, a tonal adjustment. They have these other two knobs called heat and salt. Don't really know what they do if I'm being honest, but I just kind of moved them around until I was like, that sounds good. I like that. But this really made the drums, to me, sound a lot more realistic, have a lot more punch, and kind of stick out in the mix a little bit. You know, metal, you kind of want the drums to be a little forward in the mix. You don't really want them to be set back. You want them to be real intense and like out front. And this plugin just super helped with that. Let's see, we'll talk about vocal chains a little bit. I used a couple of different vocal mics. I used two different vocal mics. This is one of them that I used, this Shure MV7. And it sounds good. And it was really just kind of out of laziness. I didn't want to re-record vocal parts I had already done, because I'd already done them and spent the time getting them dialed in and like making sure my pitches and tones and stuff were good. But I used this mic on some stuff, and then I wound up getting a, see if I can get it. It's over here on the stand. I wound up getting a Shure SMB7 or SM7DB. That's what it is, a Shure SM7DB. And the standard Shure SM7 is like a classic great mic, but this one has a built-in preamp, and so it's got a lot more gain to it. And I really like this mic, so I did a lot of the overdubs and stuff with this, and I think I wound up doing Wounds of Grace totally with this. So, again, not that they sound wildly different to begin with, but a mic like the SM7DB, it just means on the back end, you don't have to do as much work. I didn't have to boost it. I didn't have to add as much mic pre-coloring and EQ and stuff like that. The mic just sounded kind of the way I wanted it to sound. Again, not that this is a bad mic. I just had to do a little extra work on the back end to get it to sound like how I wanted the vocals to sound, which was that mic to begin with. So, you know, is what it is. This mic, now that I have the SM7, this mic is pretty much just turned into like a talking mic. I use it if I'm like playing games or something, or if I'm recording other people, I'll have them use that mic, and I'll use this as a talk mic so that they can hear me in their headphones and stuff like that. So, that was kind of the setup there. Again, the Slate Virtual Mix Rack. This has got everything you need in it. Mic pre's, compressors, all kinds of stuff, right? It's a great plug-in to have for any kind of production stuff. And then, you know, the lustrous plates, Liquid Sonics, reverb, just make sure everything's kind of glued together so the vocals weren't super dry or anything like that. And that's about it on the individual stuff. Like I said, you know, there's a couple, like in Shogun, this affected vocal chain has some different stuff on it. The Solemn Tones plugins, this is a reverb. This one's called Frostbite. It's like a overdriven, you can kind of add saturation to it. This one is called Beast, and it's actually just like a vocal filter. You have all these different modes: Serpent, Imp, Monster, Beast. You can kind of, you know, so like those really weird, like deep kind of things that are going on Shogun. I had this on there just to kind of beef them up a little bit. So, you know, just stuff like that. And then the only other thing to really note is, see, we'll just do this instead of going to the session. I'll just show you the plug-in. On all the clean guitars, which not a lot of clean guitars on the record, but I think there's a couple of places, I used the Neural DSP Archetype Gojira X plug-in. And I know this is like a super, like Gojira is like a real heavy band, right? You're like, but the clean tones from the Gojira amp, well, let's see if I can find my preset that I've made here. Yeah, the clean amp in this, I mean, if you've listened to the EP, you'll hear the clean tones. Like, the clean amp that's in this plugin sounds amazing. And so I kind of made my own preset here. And let's see, I'm using a combination of one of the stock cab IRs with a Ribbon 121 mic on it, and the BBHV Creamback IR from Bogren Digital. So that's kind of my biggest thing with doing this kind of production work, is I really like blending cab IRs, because it really lets you tailor your tone how you want. Yeah, the amp sim sounds good, but blending cab IRs just really lets you make your own kind of unique thing out of something that's like in the box, right? So that's something I really like doing, is blending virtual mics and virtual cabinets and speakers and stuff like that. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I guess like I said, on a couple of tracks, I know on a couple of tracks I used thanks computer, I used the Neural DSP Dark Glass Ultra plugin. Again, this is another really good bass plugin. It sounds fantastic. I just used the stock cabs in it with mics, and as you can see, I'm blending. On one side, I've got a Sennheiser 906 microphone, and then on the other side, I have like a Shure Beta 52 kick drum microphone to like really get some of that low end. I do know that there is there was one song, I think it's The Siege, the opening track. I quad tracked the bass, and I swapped this out, the Beta 52. You can swap it out for a sub kick, and that's where you're getting a ton of that like super low end at the end of that track is from this. And also on the Siege, I know that I quad tracked the guitars at the end, and I don't know why my computer keeps doing that. And I did use this preset I made in the Gojira amp sim called a double low, and it has like an octave pedal. Where is it at? Here we go. Yeah, it's got like a octave pedal. Yeah, right here. It's got this octave pedal engaged, a whole octave down. So drop C, but literally in the same register as the bass was, but on guitar. And so that's kind of blended in underneath everything too. And that's where you're getting, between that and like the sub-kicked bass tone, that's where you're getting like that really thick, like sludgy, doomy kind of thing at the end of that track. So yeah, that's a couple of things there. And then last but not least, I don't know why I did that. Last but not least, I'll show you like my mastering chain. And I've got I don't know how to pronounce this word. I'm sorry. The Eosis de-esser. Got this on my mastering chain. It kind of just makes things a little more present. Kind of helps the vocals sit in the mix a lot better. I've got the Slate Digital gray compressor on my mastering chain to kind of make sure all my volumes and stuff like that were kind of leveled out. And then I run everything through this is kind of funny, but you know, it is what it is. I run everything through the Slate Digital virtual tape machine. I just like what it does to the track as a whole at the end. It kind of adds a little bit of saturation and gives you a little more volume, and it just kind of adds a little bit of warmness and like thickness to things that are recorded like in the box, as they say. Like when you're using all plugins, you know, guitar amp sims, bass amp sims, program drums, like things can start to sound a little flat, and they kind of sound like that. They kind of sounded like they're not recorded with real amps and they're not recorded with real drums. And so this kind of brings a little bit of that like natural kind of life back into that stuff. And then I have the Loud Max limiter just to make sure that my master track is not clipping when I render it down, so that you don't get any weird like pops or hisses or distortions that you don't want, you know, like digital distortions, artifacts, stuff like that in your track at the end. And that's basically it, guys. That's how I recorded my EP Shogun. Everything went into my Focusrite Scarlett. Not exactly sure which model this is. The 2i18 or something. I don't know. I can't remember what the name of it is. It's the one that has 4 mic inputs on the front of it. Yeah, straight into that. My computer. And that was it. So if you haven't checked it out, like I said earlier, it'd be real cool if you did. I'd really appreciate it. I'm proud of it. I think the tones came out sounding super great. You know, I've recorded records every kind of way you can record a record. I've gone to big studios, used live amps, done the home recording thing. You know, I've done it every way you can do it, just about. And this was just such a convenient way for me to work on solo material, do everything myself, kind of right here at my computer, and to have it come out sounding the way it came out. I'm super happy with it, super proud of it. So check out my new EP Shogun. Let me know what your favorite track is, and yeah, hopefully coming up here soon, I'll be working on some more music. Said I'm just kind of, you know, there's ideas and riffs and stuff that just don't get used in any of my bands that I kind of just bank away on my computer, and I'll go through them and start picking out riffs. And it's kind of the cool thing about doing the YouTube videos is like I'll write like a little 1 minute, you know, clip for a YouTube track or something like that, doing a guitar demo or an amp demo or something like that. And I'll go back through all those little clips and I'll be like, that was a good idea. Let me expound on that some. And so that's kind of where a lot of these songs came from, was me going through different clips. And that, if you go back through my YouTube channel and like watch old videos, you'll actually hear some of these clips like in videos and stuff like that. And so that's what I did. I went through my little snippets from YouTube videos and found riffs I liked and just evolved them and expounded on them and turned them into full songs. So hope you guys liked the video. Hope you guys liked the EP. And I will be back soon.